People are compassionate and will gladly help anyone in need, animals included. It seems like a natural thing that someone would want to help others. It is natural for people to feel like they need to help when they see or hear that animals are in distress. Many people pour themselves into animal rescue groups or even participate in the next life stage of a rescued animal. When a man found a deer on the side of the road that was struggling to stay alive in the freezing cold, he knew it wasn't going to survive long. He took action and helped save its life, which likely would have slipped away if he didn't. Of all the states, Minnesota might just be the coldest of them all. The winters are terrible there, and the freezing waters in the rivers and lakes can potentially be fatal. That is why one disabled man is being heralded as a hero for risking his own safety to save an animal that would have died. This heroic rescue took place on the partially frozen Kettle River. This river is located in eastern Minnesota, and during the winter, the top of the river turns into ice. However, the ice isn't always that thick, which can turn it into a potentially dangerous situation for anyone or anything that walks over it. So, when a deer got caught in the frozen waters, a hero emerged in the form of Stephen Peterson. Peterson is a 50-year-old master woodworker with a knack for fixing things. He also happens to be deaf, but he didn't let that stop him for a second when he noticed a deer was in major trouble. Due to the fact that he is deaf, Peterson couldn't tell the story to others in a traditional sense. Peterson resorted to using American Sign Language and writing in response to questions from journalists for his local paper. Despite his disability, people had to see and hear about his amazing act of heroism. The story all started on Interstate 35. Peterson was just driving on his way home from visiting some family in Missouri, and then noticed something out of the corner of his eye. As he was crossing the river in his car, he noticed that something just wasn't right on the surface. But even though he saw something in the river, he didn't immediately know what it was and continued driving. At first, it looked like a rock bobbing up and down.
Also, if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these animal stories every day. Now, back to the story.
But as he kept driving, he couldn't stop thinking about what it was and decided to head back and get a closer look. As mentioned, the strangeness of the sight bothered Peterson so much, he had no choice but to go back to the river. Once he returned, he could now see what was really happening in the river. A deer had fallen through a hole in the ice and was frantically trying its best to escape the cold water. So now that Peterson knew something was wrong, he struggled with what to do next. He could try calling in authorities, but knew that his disability could make it difficult to communicate with them. He knew that his best bet was to give it his all and save the animal himself. His options were fairly limited, so he knew that he had to risk his own life by going out on the frozen river. But this was no easy task, as there were some parts of the river that had very thick layers of ice. One wrong step, and Peterson could easily become another victim of the icy waters. He decided that it was worth the risk to save this deer. He ventured onto the ice with a long tree branch and a trailer strap. He knew that as a deaf man, he was running a huge risk, as if the ice cracks around him, he wouldn't be able to hear it. As a result, he would have to keep his eyes peeled. He used the log for support and shimmied across it to get closer to the deer. Then he would wrap the strap around the deer's head in order to pull it to safety. Thankfully, his plan worked out, and he was able to safely pull the struggling deer from the river, saving its life. The deer was obviously very thankful to the man for saving his life. And despite being frozen with icicles on its face, the deer was relatively unharmed and made a quick recovery. He watched over the deer for the next hour, but after it looked like it didn't need any more help, he said goodbye and went on his way. There you have it, a man potentially putting himself in harm's way to help an animal he had just noticed out of the corner of his eye in a freezing cold river. Even if you have never had a pet, there is a soft spot in your heart that always makes you love and care for all the animals. Stories like these restore faith in humanity, showing that people still care even with all the recent problems. It's amazing what stories like this can accomplish.